Thank you,
They
Cassie.
didn't tell you that you were going to take my place?
No.
Well, I'll talk to Brian.
All right, I think it's time we call this meeting to order. Sarah, would you like to do a roll call?
Yes, Laura Greenlee Carp is gone today. Sarah Zareka,
Here?
Dave Andren, Lloyd Grotcheck,
Here.
Ben Hansen,
Here.
Ingrid Kohler,
Here.
Rachel Lucas.
Here.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make a motion. I'll make a second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any opposed? All right. Would we like to make an approval of the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. We'd like to open the meeting to the public. Is there anyone here from the public? Nope. All right. All right, commission business. So we'll start with a recap and goals.
Well, we'll start with Ken first, sorry.
Ken, yep,
Yeah,
you told me
He wasn't
that,
on
so I
here.
already forgot.
That is all right. Ken will do an introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Again, Ken Roberts, the recently started Community Development Director for the city. And I'm here to just show you that there really is a person that goes with the name and that kind of thing. I work with Sarah and Jordan and Chris in the Community Development Department. They're the city's, not mine, fine administrative staff. They're doing a great job getting me trained, and just here to introduce myself, and I can answer any real general questions. I think, I was doing the math in my head, I think this is week 6 now with the city. Started April 28th. So I'll take your questions, otherwise I'm going to listen a little bit and then duck out and let you have a meeting.
Where are you coming from, Ken?
Well, do you want going back to my parents or my work history?
Work history, please.
Okay.
He's got a sense of humor. Yes.
Well, no, let's not get that. I started actually my work career as a planner in Maplewood. And that was from 1989 to 2008. And then I was the Community Development Director in Mountains View for almost 3 years. And then I was a planner up in Chisago County and the city of North Branch. Actually, in the county, I did some park and trail planning, so that worked out well for those folks. And then I was the planning director in the city of Lake Elmo for, again, about 2 3/4 years. And most recently, I was the city planner of the city of Forest Lake right up until I started here. So a little of this and that in the East Metro area.
Do you plan to attend certain meetings or kind of picking and choosing the ones you come to based on topics or?
Well, Plan Commission, I'll be going to all their meetings. As far as the other groups with the arts and you folks, it'll be more topic-based.
Okay.
If there's something hot and exciting that I've been involved with or Sarah wants more help with, I'll be here, but really case-by-case basis.
Sounds good.
Well, welcome aboard.
Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome.
How can you help support Parks and Rec?
They will have to work with Sarah and let me know. Because I'm still drinking through the fire, or from the fire. hose
The fire
as it
hose.
goes, as getting on board. But Sarah, I'm 100% confident is a great liaison, and if there's something that comes up, we'll discuss it, figure it out, and see what can be done or might be done. But I promise nothing yet.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ken.
For attending.
Yes.
All right, you want to kick it off into recap and goals?
Sure. So this is a section that Laura had added in there to kind of just go over briefly what we've been working on and what is upcoming. As you all are well aware, we've been working on CIP recommendations, and that will be discussed in our packet tonight. Those final CIP recommendations will be sent to Ken by the end of this week, that he will take that to finance and discuss that. And we'll go from there, but we can discuss that later. So that's kind of where we've been and where we're going. Also, it looked like they included the event schedule coming up. I noticed that some of the Park and Rec ones were not currently up to date, so I don't know where this event schedule came from, but the next one for parks is going to be Wednesday, June 18th. There's Jazzercise in the park. Ava noted she didn't need any assistance there, so if you wanted to attend just to have fun and participate, you certainly can. The one after that would be Thursday, June 26th, which is Music in the Park. And that is one that she will need some assistance with, or at least one person there as a representative. I do have notes in here to have Ava resend out a sign up for upcoming events. But this is just a brief recap of everything that's going to be coming up. Otherwise, that's all I have for that section.
Awesome. All right. So do we need to touch on any other recap or goals from anybody? Okay. All right, so we can jump to the CIP recommendations.
Wonderful. So thank you all for assisting in this and putting together the CIP recommendations. Most of them were submitted in the packet, and you'll see them all grouped together. There's 4 at the back of your packets that were paper clipped that didn't make it into the publishing of the packet. Basically, what the goal is tonight is for you all to take a look through them just quickly. We all know that what the goals were for each of these parks, so there really shouldn't be any surprises in here. It's more or less, do we agree with the numbers that are on there and the timeline, what date or what year we're looking at working on these. If we're all in agreement, then I can pass it on to Ken and the finance team later this week. So just wanted to see if this all looks good for everybody.
Do you want us to just, maybe the best way to just kind of walk through them one by one really quick and just highlight the
Sure.
total, the year of the park? All right, so we can start. The first one in our packet is Casey Lake Park. This is the removing the fence around the ball field and then purchasing the soccer football combo install, planning for the year 2025. So something to happen this year. So how does everyone feel about that? Or we can run through them quick, and if you have anything, we can also like circle back on it. Colby Hills Small Park Add-on. This was added by me. This is those addition of those small park features we had talked about. So this is that spider climber and a spinning merry-go-round in that open lot at Colby Hills. Recommendation also for 2025, the bid on this was around $35,000 with the equipment and furnishing and installation. So some of these totals, I think we noted in some of them, could change based on whether Public Works gets involved or not. Then we'll go to the downtown open
One
space.
question.
Yeah.
Is the 2 on the priority, the years? Or which year are we talking about as far as like for each one of these?
So you could do 1, 2, or 3. So 1 being like the most critical, most urgent. And so I don't know, probably, Rachel, you did this similar to me, probably where you're like, it'd be nice to have in this year, so we're going to send it out. But like as far as criticalness, like she's saying it's a 3. So it's not going to be like dire need to the city if we can't get a soccer field in this year. Same with Colby. Like it would be great to get that in this year. I think that park has a really great feature of the building and the pergola there. That's huge, and it could really use some older child enhancements. But that doesn't mean this, it can afford to wait till next year if it's not.
Thank you.
Yeah, it went 1, 2, and 3 as you did the drop downs and
Yeah.
just for the CIPs. There were different drop downs you could do, and like Sarah did say, 1 is like we need it like now. 2 is we want to consider it, fairly soon, and then 3 is it's always going to be like open for discussion kind of thing. It's not a real top priority.
So the next one is the downtown open space. So Dave did this one. This was part of that McKnight's master plan. Estimate on that is $786,000 as of today. Keep in mind, numbers can change a little bit as years and prices of stuff goes on. But this would be converting that open space on 7th to the HGA rendering recommendation of the seating area and kind of open space and the swings. It was really cool. So 2029 is when Dave put this in. 3, since we still have some time on that. And of course, we have to kind of divide these out, those bigger McKnight projects, to break them up a little bit to,
See, and the reason I put a 3 is, I mean, we don't have to follow all the recommendations. Maybe we, in the next year or so, go through some more discussion if we need to. Maybe we don't need the swings, we may want something else. So that's why it's kind of pushed out. So we have it on our radar, but it's nothing that's really important, so.
Are you saying that's why you picked the year 2029, or is that why you did?
Well, Lori kind of pushed it back. I had it for 2028, but that's okay. I mean, it's, if we don't have money to do any of that, the park sits fine the way it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
it's,
that's why it's
yeah, and I put it as a 3.
Okay.
So,
yeah, we had to stagger the years on all those McKnight projects just because,
Yeah.
I think I broke mine out into several different years. The next one being the playground at McKnight. So what we did with McKnight in general is broke out the whole development into separate little sections. So we broke out the skate park, the playground, the concrete kind of conversion area. I did not include the parking lot as that's part of the greater plan at McKnight. And then we broke out the mini pitch because all of them kind of cost. They're a lot scarier when you look at the number all together. So I set this for 2027. This would be adding that playground at McKnight. I think this will be a pretty crucial part of that as we think about the ball fields usage and other kids at that place. This is, again, part of the HGA master plan. I tried to break out based on their costing. This one was a little harder to do based on what we decide to do. We have a rough estimate from HGA on this. I think 300,000 could be a low number depending on whether we do soft surfacing or what that play structure is we want. But if we do one big structure and then something around it, maybe it wouldn't be as much. So I put 300. Again, that number could change based on whether Public Works does the install or not at a 3. This is the flex field at McKnight. So push that a year back from the playground. This is that mini pitch field that would be where the current T-ball field is. This is right off of McKnight. It's kind of near where all the brush and stuff are kind of piled there. This would be what they're recommending as that kind of GastroTurf, so low maintenance field, very expensive to put in, but the longevity of it lasts quite a while. The maintenance would be fairly low once it's installed, and then it could be flexed between baseball or soccer and give us another option. We really think this is important because it's part of that greater master plan. So put that for 2028 because I don't think the urgency of that is quite as urgent as like the parking lot, tearing out the pickleball courts or the tennis courts, and then the playground, which could be utilized right away. All right. Northwood Park. This was written by Rachel. This is adding in that Gaga pit and picnic table and bench. So recommendation of $6,000 for 2025. Those are part of that small park improvement things we had discussed at the last meeting. Polar Park. I think this one is in the back of the packet, so we can go to this one at the end. Tower Park. This is a recommendation. Thank you again, Rachel, for doing this one. $2,000 for that Gaga pit, as we were talking about adding those to a few parks.
I do have a question on that one. There was nothing for annual ongoing maintenance. Is there anything I should put in there for that?
I put on mine, or when I tried to do that one for Housy, I put that like potential maintenance, like taking it away and storing it.
Yeah. And like seasonal
And
inspections.
like I said, potential mulch chips. I have looked at a few other Gaga pits since we did this last month, and a lot of them do have like, they don't concrete out or anything, but they lay mulch chips kind of in the middle, so maybe it's a softer.
Okay.
It falls. I don't know. Most of the ones we can't lay down sand I don't think anymore. I could be
No,
wrong.
I don't think
but
we can.
It has to be ADA accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can at least put something general in
That's
there.
what I put. I just thought, I mean, if we don't want them staying out all winter, they're movable, so we could put them,
Put them away.
That goes with the one for also Northwood. That Gaga pit would have to be set up and then taken down. So that would be a maintenance item there.
I will add that as a
And for
note.
housing.
Okay, thank you.
all right. So that takes us, urban ecology is also in the back of the packet, so we can flip back. Sarah, the other things I'm realizing maybe you're missing is I sent in
Here.
all the rest of the
They're on the
McKnight
bottom.
ones. Are they in the back too?
Yes.
'Cause I broke McKnight into like 5 different pieces.
So unless Laura sent those ones in, which were not in the, whatever she sent in was what I got.
We got Third Street.
Oh, okay, because I did one for the skate park and I did one for the patio area at McKnight.
Okay.
They weren't like 2025 or anything, but
If you want to resend those to me,
I can send them as soon as I get home. Yeah, I have
and
them
then,
done.
I mean, if you kind of remember generally, we can discuss it tonight, and then I can submit them with the rest of these.
I can't remember the exact price, but I think the BMX, it was probably around like 300,000 as well for the skate, because I broke up the BMX skate park as one, and then the concrete area was more like 700,000. It was a lot.
Okay,
But also, I have them. I can send them.
okay.
And the housing one that you and I worked
Yep.
on and submitted several days before it was due, did not make it into the packet somehow, or did not.
Right, and there was one that Dave did too, so I printed them, they're there
They're
now.
there.
Oh, and I
are
resent one
they-
because Laura said she thought she had it. So poor Halsey has like 3 of them somewhere. Yeah, we got it. There's somewhere.
Yeah, here's the one for housing. too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah, do you remember, as far as the skateboard park and that stuff, do you remember what year you were kind of, because I'd like to see that happen kind of soon.
I staggered them year after year. So I think I did the playground first, then the skate park, then the mini pitch, then the pavilion was last. So that would have been like 2029. And I didn't touch or make one for the softball fields yet because I figured we got to get through this first increment and just live with the softball fields until we can get that other part with the cost. So
Okay. Yeah, because that would be my concern. I'd like to see that's the skateboard.
yeah, I intentionally staggered it because I didn't think we could splurge with each one of those. I thought it's more doable that we can get one at a time.
Yeah, oh, I agree, but it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so back to the Polar Playgrounds. This is in the back of your packet. Thank you, Sarah, for running these. We weren't sure who had this one, so I wrote it really last minute. So if I have some things wrong, just let me know. I put this as a one critical for this year, hopefully, at least ordering the equipment or getting the funding approved. This is for the tear down of the Polar Park equipment minus the swing set and merry-go-round and installation of new equipment. This one, we did have a quote from Creative Recreational for $37,377, and then an additional cost of $22,254 for the installation. So again, if this is something Public Works or we're able to do a city community build, perhaps we can cut down on the cost of this by quite a bit. This playground has met its end of life, so it is a critical. We need to get moving and replace this as quickly as possible. I just put mulch chips and mowing. I know sometimes we've done a border around the playground, but I think I can't remember, I don't know who has Polar Park, but if there is a concrete border around that playground, if they put one in already?
Did, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so. I also mentioned in here, but it's not part of this quote, is that we'll have to have the ADA sidewalk accessibility from the road.
There is one at Polar Park now.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
When we did whatever we did
Yeah.
several years ago.
Yeah.
Good. Well, one less thing we need to do. It wasn't in the quote anyways, so it shouldn't hurt it, but. Urban Ecology Centers, this is one from me. This was, I listed this for 2025 as well at a 2 for importance. This is where we were talking about putting some nature play elements right on the Gateway Trail and that Urban Ecology Center, as well as a bench and a bike rack, or bench or table, sorry. This is something we have talked a lot about, just having some place to rest and play for kids on the Gateway Trail. We have Rotary Park, which is nice, but there's no place for kids to really play right off the trail, so I think this might be a nice element. I think because this equipment would be $26,000, it's kind of low-hanging fruit ability for Public Works to kind of put it in and play, not really any installation per se, so. Then we have Third Street. So, Dave, you did this one, right?
Yes.
So this is part of that, again, the McKnight Fields master plan at 1.1 million. This is, yeah, yep. So they did the estimate for that, accessibility trail, and then you put it for 2025.
Yeah, I'd like to see that sooner than later. I don't know how much clearing and stuff that Public Works could do to maybe, maybe get a plan from HGA that's a little more defined, because it's mostly nature trails and stuff. I'm just going off the recommendations that HGA gave us.
Yep.
And that's how I got my pricing. But because of the location and the new housing developments and stuff that are right around there, I think this one should at least get started maybe this summer or fall. We're already coming into June, so, but it's one of those things I'd like to see sooner than later, just because of the new people that are coming into that area. They need something that's kind of close and just something to reflect on. And being it's a brand new, it's not something we're upgrading, it's something we're putting in place. So,
I guess my one concern about that is this is the most expensive project on our list, and knowing how bad of shape McKnight is in, I don't disagree. I'm torn, but I feel like nothing exists there today, but we have some that are really in disrepair that need help. And I feel like if we send this to council and say we want it this year, they're gonna say, well, why, we have a playground that's 30 years old that hasn't been replaced. And I just worry if they see this number, it's gonna shoot down the ability for us to get these smaller projects done, like.
I don't want to overspeak, but I know our finance director said that number is not going to happen this year.
I
so,
agree, and
yeah.
realistically, you still have to go out for bids with this. You're not going to get anything this summer or this fall out of it. It would definitely be something we'd need to look at for next
and the
year.
reason I put it for the summer is just so we're not pushing it way back and then it just gets overlooked and it keeps overgrowing.
Right, and I mean, I think what you guys have laid out here looks fantastic, and it's real, I mean, having a plan and having the years in place is what's most important, right? We may have to move things around given what type of funding we have and what the budget looks like, what type of levies we might need to have. We've already discussed, I mean, we're in the conversation right now, and it'll start in June, the main, what does next year look like
Right.
for our budget? What do we want our levy to look like? We've already started those discussions, how high we want it to be, how low and how high we want it to be. We've had some of those preliminary discussions. That said, this is where it's important we had HGA out here. They gave us some ideas of the plan. So how can we, and David, what I'm following from you is how can we take what HGA proposed,
Yeah.
and then what can we do right now to improve what we currently have? So how can we put all of that together, and
Yeah,
where
and-
can we afford that?
Right, and that, I mean, the reason I went for this year, I think it's important that even though I know McKnight is in rough shape, I mean, Public Works is using it for storing trees right now and the other stuff. So this one, I think it's something that's kind of doable, and the sooner we can kind of get something earmarked. It doesn't actually, in my book, it doesn't have to happen yet this year, but because it's mostly landscaping issues, cutting out some trees, cutting in some trails, I mean, that's easily done with, some bobcats and a few other things.
I mean, there's a lot of detail that goes to
I-
it too.
I
I
know,
mean,
I-
it sounds simple, right? But on a
I know
city
from building the
end,
vets park, I know it sounds good on paper, coming to actual things. But my whole thing is to get it at least on the radar, saying, hey, we want to start this. And I'm sure Public Works has to take a look at it. The city manager's got to take a look at some of it and say, hey, this is where we want to go. But being we were asked to try to have something to develop this area, I think it's something, like I said, it doesn't have to at least start the project, but let's try to get at least the financing lined up, if nothing else, so we can start next spring, if nothing else, and start moving forward with this particular park.
I say maybe what we do is let's get through the last one of this, and then I think as a park board, let's discuss the ranking of the HGA plan and decide as a group where we feel those rank,
Yeah.
so that we're all on the same page. Because I think we kind of have to be a unified unit, and then Sarah can help us adjust the dates based on what we decide, if that's okay. Because if everyone's like, you know what, hold on McKnight, we want to do this Third Street Park, then let's readjust those dates. But I think we need to have a bigger discussion about that, because if it's one, if it's a smaller majority who wants that, then, we're spending a lot of time talking about something we can't fix yet. So,
Well, and financially, it's not a bad idea to bring it back to Dan and say, all right,
Yeah.
what's realistic
Yeah.
for this
Right.
year, even if it's patching some of these littler parks.
yeah,
Puller Park, some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because we've already set the budget for this year, but what does next year look like?
Yeah.
Can we go out for bid? Kind of like what we did with our pickleball courts. We got the funding for that, then we brought it back that next spring. I mean, you've all been through this process. We do it again this year. This is our priority. We want it for this. This is for sure going to happen in 2026. That's what we want.
Yeah.
And we bring it back to Dan and say, let's figure this out. Bring this to
Perfect.
Bring this to council.
Okay, so last one, let's talk about real quick, then we'll circle back on the kind of HGA plan. So last one is, this must be Housy, right? Just says parks, okay. Yes, this is for Housy, Gaga Ball Pit and Housy in the open space. So same as the other ones, $2,000, and then seasonal takedown, as you wrote, and installation as needed. So,
We do Tower Park as well?
yes, I think
was on-
I said Tower Park.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I must have,
Because we had the Gaga pits at Northwood, Tower, Housy, and what, Northwood? Did I say
What?
Northwood?
yes, yes. Okay.
So it's 4 of them, I think, right? Yeah. Okay. So before I go back to the HGA conversation, any other thoughts on the rest of those that was listed? I heard a lot of 2025, so a lot of them were low budget, so hopefully we can talk about that to council, but any other thoughts?
I would like to see some of the smaller ones like Polar Park, the Gaga Pits, at least for now. And what are we looking for, 2026 on the budget now with this?
Well, we're going to start preliminary conversations in June. So
Okay.
to know what you guys want for 2026 is pretty critical, because then with the preliminary conversations, we're starting in June, Sarah can bring it right back to Dan and say, all right, this is what they're talking about. Then from there, we can see what it looks like putting it in the budget.
And to clarify for 2025, when Dan was here last meeting, he did give us direction to come up with a few things, small things that we could
Said if we
potentially
have
do.
a strong plan, right?
Yeah. So,
So like the Gaga pits,
Yeah.
that's for 2025.
Yeah, even potentially like ordering the equipment, like in this year's budget, but installing it next year could be a possibility as well, I think he said.
yeah.
Especially since that cost would be broken up, it wouldn't be 60,000, it would be the 37. And then we at least save on whatever tariffs could or could not be by then.
Well, and if there's any funding state-wise, I mean, I think that's something that we should explore as well to
Yeah.
see.
Okay. Any other thoughts on any of the other things? And we'll go back to HGA. Okay. So as a reminder for HGA, I'm going to just write these down so it's in my head. So we have several parts. We have the downtown park. We have Third Street.
And downtown was the small little one with benches, and
Yes.
Third Street was the
Swings and the rocks.
nature and community garden,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Downtown is the one that's right next to the VFW.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And then we have, we'll break this out. We have the playground at McKnight. We have the mini pitch at McKnight. What you didn't see, but I promise exists, is the skate park at McKnight. And then you have the pavilion area. So if you recall, part of what they were going to do is build build kind of a driveway, which was going to be utilized for like food truck nights, and then a more open concrete patio with like structured pergolas that could be, picnic benches could be rotated in and out, could be used for arts in the park, things like that. So like it's more of a transitional, we can use it for different festivals and things like that. So really, McKnight would become, McKnight would really become more of our central park for some of these events like Arts in the Park and things like that, because we would actually have a place to, and food truck night. So that's what the pavilion is. But again, I don't have that in front of me, but I think I put that for 2029 or 2030 like, as part of the last part of the project. Was my thought is don't do that before, as nice as it would be to have those things, let's get the other things done first. So maybe what's the best way to do it?
Can you say what priorities you like, or what sort of ranking you would place all of these?
Well, I don't want to influence anybody. I guess my thought would be, as a commissioner, what would be your first priority? Maybe we go down and start with Rachel and say, of these 6 projects, which one do you feel is the most important? You know, I want everyone to have their own voice. I don't want to, I've got a loud voice, so I don't want to influence anybody.
I would say probably, I think the downtown park, because it would be a whole new park. It would be in the area where we're doing the car show, and it would encourage people to go to 7th Street more often. And then I would say, you're saying the playground at McKnight would be you listed them in order of how they should be done. Is that correct?
No, she
McKnight
just
or-
mentioned them.
No, I just mentioned all the options. So there's like 6 parts to that.
Yeah, okay.
To the bid, I guess, for this project.
I would say downtown would probably be my first priority, just to get some action happening there.
Okay?
And then 3rd Street could go on the background, because then we'd have the new downtown park. And then the second step would be the first McKnight portion.
Okay. All right.
Well, me, I would like to see, and not, we do have some money in the budget, so I think what we should do is kind of focus, my priority would be get like the Gaga pits and stuff in on the 4 sites that we would mention. If we could get the Gaga pits done, that's in each one of those parks, that's showing that we're moving forward with each one of the parks. Then my other, I guess, priority would be maybe looking at both Polar and Kobe Hills. They're kind of smaller projects. I'm sure we have still enough funding there. And then from there, moving on to like the McKnight Fields, and then 3rd Street. My thought is downtown park could kind of wait right till the end, because it is a park now. We have established trees. It's the next couple of years, it'll have a lot of shade. And then we may, in time, redesign what we already have from HGA, not to take away from them, but as time goes on and budgets change, it's already developed. It's nice grass area. People do use it. They do sit out there on lawn chairs during the car shows. So that one would be, in my opinion, be pushed back. But I know Polar needs a lot of work, and Kobe Hills is another one. But like with the Gaga pits, if we can say, hey, you know, we're looking at total of $60,000 to get all this stuff done, and it's fairly simple. It's just ordering the parts for the Gaga pits and then having
Yeah.
like where it's put them in. So that way we're showing the public that, hey, we're out here, we're giving you something, and while we're working on the bigger projects. So that would be my recommendation, is to get a couple of these really smaller projects that are not going to take as much of our funding, showing that to our citizens that we work for, that we're showing that we're moving in our best interest.
Within the 6 within the HGA, what would you rank number 1 and what would you rank number 2 between downtown, 3rd Street, playground, mini pitch, skate park, pavilion?
I think I would rank, because McKnight is such a focal place, I would say McKnight would probably take 1, 3rd Street would be 2, and the open park, downtown park would be last.
Okay.
Like I said, it's already established, it's got grass, people can sit there or relax, on, if nothing else, in the grass or in some of the shades, now that the trees are starting to develop. It's a nice open space as it is right now, so.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to go to Ingrid to keep us
All right.
moving.
I would say of these six, I think that we've been talking about McKnight for several years, and I feel like that is really in bad shape and really needs our attention. So I would put the McKnight Playground first, and maybe even the mini pitch as part of that. That might even be my second recommendation. I love the idea of this Third Street Park, but we do have, the ones that don't exist yet are compelling in some ways, but also I do want to give some attention to the things we've been talking about for a while, and that is, so, yeah, McKnight would be my first one. The mini pitch is maybe my second priority of those six.
Thank you. All right, Lloyd?
About the HGA, I would say Third Street first, McKnight second. Are we going to be ranking the other ones too? Like the playgrounds and stuff?
I think we were kind of lumping the Gaga pits together. Polar
Okay.
Park is its own project, but we can go back and talk about that. But Dave talked a little bit at length about it. I think our goal was to try to get those in this year with the potential of trying to get
Okay.
those in this summer, because the Gaga pits are very reasonable
Those are-
task to get in. I think we as a group could assemble a lot of those and put them in the park. You know what I mean? So I think we're all hopefully on board. If someone feels differently, I would speak up. But I think if we can get at least Polar and those smaller ones, we can also discuss Colby and urban ecology as maybe 2026 or
And
something.
I would say Third Street and work for downtown because there's so many new development in downtown.
Okay. All right, Ben?
Yeah, I would go McKnight as well. Just agree that that's in such derelict shape that we should start to prioritize that if we can. And then I would probably opt for Third Street, going down the HGA list after McKnight, after the prioritizing the playground, with downtown being number 3 on that list. I'm lumping all McKnight together,
Yep.
knowing that we can't do all of that at once, but I just think that needs to start to be a priority. And then completely agree, Polar Park would be great to get an entirely new structure in there. Colby Hills too. And then on board with the Gaga Pit.
Perfect. And for me last, I'm going to also vote number 1, starting with McKnight. I just think I've even heard from people, the minute I tell them I'm a park commissioner, they're like, what is going on at McKnight and why are all those logs there? And like, are you guys doing something?
By the way, those are going, just to make it known right now.
Good.
Those are going to be gone within probably the next month.
Woo!
So, okay. I was like, there was issues with getting the wood chipper. They're gone. There was a big concern of the community, so it's gone.
Good.
Thank you to know that now.
I would say my second vote is actually the downtown park, the actual downtown lot. And the reason I say that is because the cost is lower. I think the impact would be a little quicker, a little easier for us to get in. I think Third Street's going to take a lot of evaluation. I think it's not just taking out trees because they have to have a plan. In order to know the plan, they only want to take out a certain amount of trees, which means we have to do the design, the diagram, they have to plot it all out. I don't think it's going to be as quick. I don't even think 2026 would even be feasible for it. I obviously have been a big proponent of a downtown park for a long time, so it's not to say with that I don't want that. I just think McKnight is such a huge project that if we don't start chipping away at it, then our ability to say that we paid this money to do this project, if we don't start making these little dents in it. And I think the easiest way to do that is say, okay, we're aiming for 2026 to get those tennis courts tore out, to get that parking lot laid, to start the mini pitch, or whatever that progress is. I think we need to be really diligent to start it. But I'm torn because I get it, because a Third Street or a downtown is going to be like one little project, tick it off, where McKnight is going to be a lot of checking the boxes.
Could we alternate, like 2026, start a McKnight project, and then 2027, do a different project, and then 2028, do another McKnight project, and kind of alternate between a long-term and a
I
short-term
would
project?
say, I mean, as you're talking McKnight, I totally agree with you, and the way that HGA presented it was beautiful. That those little things you'll want to chip at. So you start, I mean, right now, you're not going to want to lay a brand-new parking lot down if we don't know exactly, okay, we're going to do this in year one, we're going to do this year two. I mean, you're going to want to make sure you hit, it's going to be a big project and all, and like you all said, let's block it out. Let's block it out in those, next few years. So we have it till, we start 2026 and then we jump to 2029. We're fully complete. Like the whole park is done, but there's something major happening each of those years. Another big consideration, look at all the housing we have downtown right now. There's nowhere for these people to go. So between McKnight being right there, but also a downtown park, I think I want you guys to just keep in mind how many people are downtown right now. And yeah, we have a car show, but the car show is just here for the summer. What about the spring? What about the fall?
That's why we were looking at that Third Street. That's why I think that.
I hear you. I hear you 100% on that. But also, you have to understand the amount of work that's also going to go through. We could argue this all night. I mean, it's
an
not.
argument
It's not
for
worth
us.
it.
Sarah, I misspoke on the Third Street. I actually was thinking Third Street was downtown, so downtown would be my first
Okay.
choice. Sorry.
I also want to
Apologize.
add, there's nothing about Southwood on here.
Oh,
No.
and
So I think what we need to consider is I don't necessarily think we need to make sure it's kept up. Because right now, our community is saying, there's a lot of, I can't think of the top.
Buckthorn?
Thank you. There's a ton of buckthorn out there that, how can we hear our community by making sure it's kept up? Whether it's, I think any council member in new and past will say, they kept saying, bring the goats in, bring the goats in. That said, how can we come up with a plan to make sure that buckthorn is kept up and we bring it down? Maintenance. If we can just maintain it, we don't have to chop it all at once. But again, kind of like the McKnight plan, let's bite off a little bit at a time. And if it's, we put $2,000 to it every year, I'm throwing out a number. I don't know. It could be very high, it could be very low. I'm not sure. But let's consider Southwood Park in there on a continual maintenance.
Yeah, see, that is one of my parks, and I brought this stuff up a couple of times, and I was informed that Public Works takes care of all the maintenance. There's no more task force as far as the city's concerned, because that was one of my concerns. And as far as the goats, I think it's a great idea, but we also have a city ordinance that says there's no goats in the city. So it's up to city council to say, yes, we can put, something in there saying temporarily, let's put goats out there. It's up to city council to put some of this forward. But I was informed very heavily that that kind of stuff is considered maintenance for public works.
I think, didn't,
Anyway,
So
I hear you. We've
Lloyd
talked.
and myself. and
I hear you on
two
that. We've
others
talked about it
who
at
pulled
council with the
buckthorn
goats.
for
But that
years.
said, what I'm asking right now, what I'm implying is that we should have a plan for continual maintenance. I wouldn't be wrapping in Public Works on that stuff right now. Let's talk about what does the maintenance look like for Southwood and leave it at that.
So just make a
can-
CIP for it.
Correct.
Okay.
That's
What,
my,
Would
what
one
does
of
that
you
look like annually?
that's my park too, so I concur, we need to, I don't know, the county usually would come in and do a lot of that stuff, so I
would
don't know
say
whether we can look
meeting
into the
with
county.
Ron, a meeting with Ron, and then let's go from there. What does this look like? Ron will know who to partner with. I mean, he has
Okay.
the connections. I
Lloyd,
said-
are you okay working with that to maybe
Yeah.
make a CIP for maybe not this particular plan year, but like, so that we can get that on the list? Okay.
Let me learn, Sarah, I may be down at your office having you show me, but yes,
Well, yeah, let's do that,
Does
and
it-
then I'll invite Ron to our next park meeting. To clear up
Great
some
idea.
questions. So we'll go from there.
so is this, so this form is, I'm just gonna come down, you can show me. Because you're gonna tell me and I'm gonna go, huh?
We used to take care of like the mustard weed and all that other stuff. So trust me, it's not forgotten from this park commission.
I hear you. It's not on this list, and that's why I brought it up.
Dave, why don't you, if you want, maybe meet with Lloyd after, we'll take it offline and you
Thank
guys
you.
can discuss
Yeah.
it, and we'll get back to this because I know there's a
Yep.
big basketball game
I'll
tonight.
do an order.
Okay, so, I want to go back to this really quick so that we can make Sarah's life a little easier. I think we need to go through this and say, what is 2026? What is 2027? We've got 6 items. That means we've got 6 years at minimum. Keep in mind that just throwing one out doesn't mean, when we're talking $1.2 million, that might be 5 years of our budget. I know we have a lot of money right now, but it's going to go quick when we're talking about $300,000 and $400,000 plus inflation, plus whatever it's going to be in 5 or 6 years. So, and then keep in mind, we have other parks and playgrounds that are going to be out to date, Silver Lake, things like that, sometime in that potential plan. So we need to be really thoughtful about this, considering the numbers. So 2026, realistically, a year from now, what do we want to start tearing up and working on? As far as the rankings go, McKnight had the most votes among members. A lot of you guys lumped it. I had recommended the playground first, just because there are a lot of baseball games that go on there, so that would be the first thing to be utilized, I think, as a family member. I go to a lot of baseball games. Having playgrounds by any baseball field is like a huge relief for that other child that has to go with those games. That being said, does everyone still feel that way? Would you want to start aiming? And I'm guessing with 2026, what that means is the playground where HGA has it is where the current tennis courts are. So this means starting with the removal of the tennis courts. They do have the lot in there, but I'm guessing some planning would have to go in to understand the size of the mini pitch so that they could build the parking lot accurately. So I guess for 2026, how does everyone feel about that?
I'm good to switch my priority from the downtown park to McKnight.
Okay. So we're saying 2026 is playground / that budget money that's been thrown around a lot that we did get the finance director to agree that was maintenance and street work and not park board was a $500,000 parking lot. Got that off the park budget.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be playground. We're going to call it parking lot because nobody wants to come to a nice playground in a junky parking lot. And then that would be tearing out the tennis courts would probably be the first step in that. So that we're talking 2026. And then based on what Ingrid said, I'm going to throw this out there because I think this would, I don't think we want to wait too long for that mini pitch. And I say this, but we want to give it enough time that we could potentially get grants. So we know Target and some other places like Minnesota United give grants if you're putting in any kind of soccer space. That mini pitch is like $700,000. So we need some help on that because I would hate to take that all out of the park fund.
Yeah.
But 2027 is realistic that we could give these Minnesota United Target like a realistic date that doesn't seem like 50 years away, but maybe we could actually get some granted funding for.
Yeah.
I don't want to lead, but I'm just like, I don't want to wait too long till those grants and those fundings are gone. We know they exist today, so I don't know if you have an opinion on that, Sarah.
I haven't found any grants successfully.
Oh, okay.
So, but I also haven't had a ton of time either to fully research it. So if any of you come across grants or opportunities that I can look into, that's always helpful. But I couldn't find any through Target, Minnesota United. There's a few that historically have done it, and I haven't
Okay.
seen it for this year or moving forward. But if anybody knows, that would be great. And when Ken gets more on board too.
Maybe we look, the Vikings have a foundation as well, and the Twins. If it's a multi-pitch sport field, maybe we hit up all the,
Certainly a chance.
There has to be some state funding too. I mean, that's how we got our pickleball courts in. So there's, Ken's going to be a fantastic resource.
Okay.
He's just getting his feet wet right
yeah.
now.
Yep.
But how does that feel for 2027? The parking
Yeah,
lot will look
yeah.
nice of a playground, and then maybe a hole where the skate park is. Okay, and then 2028, now we're talking about McKnight's kind of looking human again. Do you guys want to continue on the McKnight path, put in the skate park, waiting for the pavilion, or do you want to switch back to something else like the downtown or?
Let's switch back to,
I think we should, split McKnight up with the downtown park.
Okay. Downtown park, specifically the one next to Veterans.
'Cause that's the cheaper one of the two, the easier one. And I feel like that's closer to the 2 new apartment buildings, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it is. So Third Street is a great option. However, one of the considerations we've always had is it's not necessarily like adjacent to, like if you live in an apartment downtown and you want to walk your dog, you still have a little bit, you've got a quarter mile or more to like get up there, where the downtown park is kind of in their face. Not that that's a dog walking big enough, but
Could you, sorry, for 2027, were you saying the mini pitch?
yes.
Okay.
For McKnight.
I would like to consider, should we do the skate park instead? To have more of an older kid addition?
Yeah, I think the skate park,
Especially because we're adding the soccer goal field to Casey Lake this year.
I think when you say the mini pitch, you're talking about the AstroTurf that you can create different types of fields on. And I think that's going to serve a whole lot of families and people when you consider teams and all the people that come with teams. Whereas a skate park might serve, yes, it's going to help with the getting cooler stuff for older kids, but it feels like it's more of a focused sort of need than the pitch itself.
the flex field.
Any other thoughts? I don't want to,
That's,
between mini pitch and skate park?
Can do multiples.
it can do, yeah, it can do
Alternate with downtown.
soccer.
McKnight, if we're gonna do McKnight first, that's the consensus, then go down back to the downtown open space, right? We're talking
Yeah.
open space, not
The-
Third Street.
Next to Veterans.
Correct.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
We had that as 2028,
Yep.
which somehow isn't that far in the future.
I know, it's not that far anymore.
Okay. So I hear you too. I think the skate park would be unique for us, but I do feel like as an enhancement to that park, open space would serve more community members. But I'm also torn because I
That sounds
like
good.
the idea of that too.
That makes
but-
sense. I'm good with that.
Okay, so we go to 2029. So we've got a playground, a parking lot, a mini pitch, a downtown park. Is this when we go back and do the skate park and try to wrap some of McKnight?
Yeah, I think we try to finish up McKnight.
When we're doing the McKnight in pieces, is that gonna be feasible? I mean, as far as,
That's when finance comes in and.
well,
I
not,
mean,
yeah.
all of these things may change too. This is what we want to put in the capital improvement plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be fluid, so.
Okay, yeah,
It's gotta be
'cause
flexible. It's not,
this-
it may not happen next year, it may not happen, it might not end until 2035. I mean,
Yeah.
it just depends on what happens. I mean, if something
Mm-hmm.
is destroyed in Casey Lake, I mean, we're not gonna leave that park sitting there.
Right,
looking
right.
like garbage. We'll probably have to tend to that park first. So, act of God, we don't know what's.
Yeah.
So it has to be fluid.
So can I just ask a quick question? So Northwood is getting some attention in the next year or two.
Yeah, it's getting the
The little updates.
little updates.
Because when we talk about the downtown population growing so much, and, because that was always our park we talked about that would serve that population. And now the Third Street project does as well, and so does this little mini park. So I just didn't want to forget Northwood when we're focused on these other two. But as long as Northwood is getting some attention, I want people who live in all of those spaces to know about it. Because it's kind of hidden. It's got that
Busy
berm.
park. I live right there.
Oh, you do. You see, oh, it does get use. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's a
We have
busy
the-
park. It's
the-
just not ADA.
Yeah, it's not ADA.
We're doing the Gaga Pit, a picnic table and a bench this
Okay.
year. And then I think it was on the agenda for like 2030 to
Okay.
do a bigger,
Full-
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. All right. I just didn't want Northwood to get lost in the shuffle.
Appreciate that.
We don't want
Yeah.
any of them getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so at this point, in 2029, we're going to 2030. We have 3 of the main 4 components at McKnight done. So would you guys want to go to Third Street at this
I was
point?
thinking,
Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
which is a big project, but will give us lots of years to kind of raise funding for it or decide if we have to do bonding. And that's another point that if they decide to go out on bonding, that could be a point where we could do more things at once, depending on what they do. So that's why they need to know these things to decide how they want to budget. The city council may say, we don't want to take 4 years, we want to do this one big shove and then help us bond for money or something, so. All right, so then that leaves the last one, which is kind of the finale at the first phase of McKnight, which is the pavilion. So that would connect the Legion Field to the softball fields to the parking lot, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
Do
Okay.
you know how the batting cages
Oh,
plays into this?
yeah, what is that?
Well, so it exists, and there's, I don't know all the exact details, but they're there. And
Okay.
there is a plan, HCA did give us a plan that if, for some reason, the batting fields don't exist, to turn that into a multi-use rentable building for the teams to use, potentially like updated concession stands, bathrooms.
Okay.
They gave us the square footage on it, and they had suggested that that could be a very good space for that. But we had no plans involved in that for this.
Thank you.
All right. Does that help, Sarah? Kind of line it out?
Yes,
Okay.
that helps a lot. Do we need to vote on that, on their recommendations for the CIP? It doesn't hurt, does it?
I don't think it hurts.
I don't know for sure.
And then, that said, you can bring it to, Ken, Dan can really take a look at it, bring it to council, should we need it. But really, if you guys want to get the Gaga pits moving, like some of those littler things,
Yep.
let's get a vote on that, bring it to council, we have next Tuesday, and hopefully we can get that pushed through.
Should I divide this vote into like 2025 items versus then separating out? Okay. Okay, so just before we do a vote for this, or someone makes a vote, Gaga pits at the 4 parks, plus the benches and chairs, so the ancillary items, the smaller items. The other 3 things that I think park members pushed for 2025 was the Polar Park Playground, which we do have an estimate and a place. I think, my opinion would be let's ask for it. It needs it. The other 2 were urban ecology and the Colby. So I think the total of, if we include the labor provided by the companies, we'd be looking at 120 for just those, or almost 100, maybe 110 for the Polar Playground, Colby, and urban ecology. And then the Gaga pits, about 2,000 apiece. So, and then the soccer nets. So we'd probably be looking at asking for about 130,000, which we have a lot of money in our budget, so that doesn't feel that unrealistic. So my experience leads me to say, let's ask for all those things and then see what we get, see where we land, in hopes that maybe we can get a lot of things done in our parks this year. So first thing is we need to have a motion, someone to make a motion and then repeat all those items.
I would like to make a motion to vote on proposing 2025 improvements of Gaga pits, picnic tables, benches, Polar Park update, Colby Hills update, and Casey Lake Park update.
You said Casey Lake? Uh-huh. Okay, yeah. Would anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion heard. I just wanted to do that, sorry.
So now do you want a motion for the other things? So
I
we
had
have
a-
a timeline?
I wanted to say something before we voted on the 2026 and afterwards. So we currently end at 2031. Are we supposed to be doing 2032, 33, 34, and 35 as well? Or not at this time?
If you had items that needed to go that far out, or ideas that needed to go that far out, yeah.
Do we,
It may do that.
Yeah.
do we want to do McKnight Phase 2 for those years? Or do we want to leave them blank?
I know what he told us at the last meeting is like, it doesn't mean we can't go back next year in 2026 and add things to this 10-year.
Okay.
So I'd rather not I don't
we're
want
good
to
as
scare
is.
council more than we have to already. But that's just me. I think we could, but I think it's like the Northwood conversation. I think there's a good chance in the next 10 years, we're going to want to do something to Northwood, but then we can add it, you
Okay.
know? And maybe it overlaps with one of these years we have here, but we just want to give them a clear plan for the McKnight, the HGA stuff, since we spent the money to have that plan done, and we want to see things,
Okay.
yeah.
We already have, like, upgrades, go back to Southwood, for the 10-year plan, there was nothing in there. I know personally that within the next 10 years, the observation deck will have to be redone, so will that,
That is
Bill
in
Brick.
there.
that is in there.
That is currently, yep, that one.
Oh, that's
and-
already in there. It's
Yeah,
a
and-
couple years out.
Yeah.
But it's already in there.
Yep.
So we are planning for some of that stuff. So what we're looking at tonight is just some of that stuff from the HGA standpoint and some of the other stuff that we do know of, correct?
Yeah, so the finance director can take a look at the numbers and give us
That's what he asked us.
feasibility, yeah.
Okay.
So if someone wants to make a motion.
I make a motion to vote on the CIP plan updates we have, including 2026 McKnight Playground and Parking Lot, 2027 McKnight Pitch, 2028 Downtown, 2029 McKnight State Park, Skate Park. Skate Park, wowzers. Dream big, folks. 2030 3rd Street, and 2031 McKnight Pavilion.
Any seconds?
Second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ben.
Ben seconds. Any discussion? Forgot to do that last time. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those not in favor?
You gotta bang the little gavel this time. Yeah.
Motion, so moved.
Yay.
All right. Were there any other that we should vote on?
No, I just want to, so I talked to Dan, the finance director, before coming here, actually. So with the 2025 stuff, I'm going to submit that to him tomorrow. He's going to talk to Brian, the city manager, on what the next step should be. I think it won't go to council this next Tuesday, but it'll be the following one, potentially.
Possibly, because it's Thursday.
Yeah.
I gotta get the packet out.
But if they have questions, I might be leaning on the folks that submitted the items to come and speak to some staff if needed. But I will be in communication with those folks if we need it. But we'll be in touch.
Perfect.
I would,
Propose to put it on discussion, for discussion on our council minutes, our council meeting.
Next week? Okay.
I would like to make a motion, since I should have had it done with Rachel's, that we consider $3,000 this year for upkeep in Southwood Park.
For what?
You say that
For
again?
the Buckthorn or general maintenance.
I think we need to get clarification from Public Works of what they are going to do and what they're not going to do, because I had a lengthy conversation with Ron and a few others in the city of what they do and don't do. There's certain things now that, and when I talked to Brian, the task forces know, they can make recommendations to this board, but there is no official task force anymore as far as the city's concerned. So with that said, I asked all those questions, and a lot of that just, they told me falls in maintenance with Ron, with Public Works. So I would like to get some clarification, what they consider, what they're going to do, and what we can have volunteers do or outsides, because we used to have the workhouse come in and do the Buckthorn. We've had men clubs do it. It's nothing I want to push off, but I would like to see or get something saying, this is where we would like help from the park commission, or this is what we're gonna take care of.
But I would like it in place at least, so that's
Well,
my
something, I
idea, is
mean,
to have
it's-
some money in place if this year, because otherwise, if we wait till June, then that means we're gonna be into July and August, and so
I think
that-
it's hard to make an approval if we don't know whose management's under. I'd like to make a suggestion that, and I know this isn't what you want to hear about waiting till June, but I think we take the time between now and the next meeting to discuss with the city, with Public Works, to understand, you know, because it may be a case where Public Works has the budget, we don't need to get it approved, and we just need to kind of get a through line through Public Works to deal with the Buckthorn this year, and then your CIP that you're going to write may help us kind of protect us going forward. But it doesn't sound like we have enough information tonight to vote on it to send to council, because then we're going to get shot back the same questions. I would say if when you and Sarah meet about the CIP, maybe Dave could come too, and you guys, maybe there's a bigger, broader meeting you guys can have about Southwood, and then bring that back to the June meeting so we could vote on it once we have more information.
I can rescind my motion.
Yeah, we can do that. Ron, like I said, I'll invite Ron to the next meeting too, so we can certainly discuss that as an entire commission as well.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's.
Yeah, my guess is that they have a plan for this year, but I would like him to come here and talk about it.
Maybe we can put Southwood on the agenda for next month, just so that it's not forgotten, it's top of mind. And then if you guys are able to work with the city and get some information ahead of time, so Ron's not like, bombarded with our questions.
Some of Ron's budget does include like removal of graffiti and things like that. So it's not a bad, I mean, Ron should come to the next meeting just so he can clarify on some of the stuff that is in his budget, like wood chips.
Right.
Wood, those kind of things.
Okay.
All right. All right, so if that is good, we'll wrap the CIP portion of this, and thank you guys for your patience, and then we'll move to the Park Passport Program final presentation.
Yes, Rachel can speak on that. She submitted her final program proposal that is in your packet, and so she wants to talk about that.
All right, it's your show, Rachel.
So this is pretty much a one-page summary of the presentation I gave last month. The only updates I made are that there isn't a midway prize based off of feedback, that individuals would win the smaller prize of like the $3 magnet, button, pin, what have you, and then everyone who, submits and goes to all the parks and fills out the passport is entered for a grand prize of like a city T-shirt or baseball hat or something like that. I broke down numbers of annual costs based on number of participants, including employee time based on number of participants, but otherwise, pretty much everything's the same. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Looks good.
Do you want to
We need a
vote?
on
Vote.
that. And a recommended starting number of participants. I had recommended starting on the lower end, just because we aren't sure yet of what the participation will be like, and I don't want to invest.
I just wanted to get like.
300?
Yes, yeah, I just wanted to show like, say this just blows out of the water, what would the damage be on the wallet?
Absolutely,
But
and
yeah,
that's perfect.
100
Thank you.
participants sounds great.
Okay, so as long as we're in agreement of that and moving forward with this program, I can get working on it, but I do need a formal recommending vote.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Park Passport Program proposal.
Am I allowed to second it? I second.
You could have even made the motion.
Okay.
Yeah. Too much.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Do I need to say a dollar amount associated with the motion or not?
Did you say the number of participants?
Just
I did not say
Okay,
anything. I just said I'd like to accept the proposal.
It's looking,
100.
Maybe just say
Yeah, I know where it
100
is.
With 100 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Yeah, I would like to propose that we accept the program proposal up to 100, well, or more.
Starting at 100,
participants.
yes.
Yeah.
Seconded.
All
Doing
right.
it again? There.
Yeah, we gotta go around
Okay.
again.
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. Boom. Let's do that twice. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for your time on this. It's
Very good job.
exciting.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a great way to get people in the parks.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and easy.
All right.
Exactly.
On to our last topic here, commissioner discussions. So any topics from your parks or anything you want to mention as your liaison? We'll start reverse this time with Ben. If you have anything from your parks you want to bring up.
Just that unfortunately, nobody showed up for Casey Lake Parks Cleanup Day, so I was there cleaning up all alone. But
Well, thanks for doing that.
it was cold, so
and wet.
Oh, that was a bad weekend.
yeah. Otherwise, none.
But that seems a little, do you think it was advertised well enough? That seems,
It was on socials and it was on the weekly newsletter, so.
Okay.
I think it was.
Weather was
largely
bad, I
weather,
know.
yeah. It was like 45 degrees and windy, so.
It was,
If
yeah.
I was not scheduled, I wouldn't have done
Yeah.
it.
All right, well, that's disappointing. Lloyd?
I will just follow up with the Dave and the Southwood, what are we calling it? I apologize.
CIP.
Thank you. CIP for Southwood.
Okay.
It's busy. Southwood is busy. It's getting busier.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
But the city's doing a nice job with maintenance and so forth.
I drive past Colby Hills almost every day, and I never noticed, but in that open space, there's actually a bench there, which is great. So I thought, if we get that new equipment in, we've already got a bench, so save some money right there. Nothing else to report from my parks.
Is there a rest? What do they have for a rest area? Or was it built into
At
Colby?
Colby? Oh, it's a beautiful pavilion.
It's a
Oh,
huge.
Was it built into the?
No, it's just a big concrete slab, and it's like lit, and there's, I don't know, probably has like
What do
6
they do for
picnic tables.
restroom?
There's a porta potty.
Or porta potty.
Oh, okay. Silver Lake, we had a good turnout for our cleanup because the Lake Association is really involved. And it was different than other years. In other years, we've gotten in the lake and raked things and stuff, but we were told by Public Works that we didn't have to like rake up small sticks and things like that. So there were a lot of people who turned out, and it didn't take long really to like make sure all of the trash was picked up, and then a couple of us went over to Dorothy and kind of looked over there, and it wasn't bad at all. The one thing that occurred to me after this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, that park is so heavily used. It is just like 1 block away from me. It's like Picnic City for 3 days, 3 straight days. So it's wonderful. There are so many families and so many picnics and everything going, and volleyball, and that park gets so much use. And I was thinking, oh, I wonder if we timed the cleanup wrong. You know, does Public Works have any feedback on like? It just seems like it gets so heavily used over those days. Is there a lot of cleanup that happens after that?
Not
After
that
this
I
week?
have heard
Okay.
specifically, but I can certainly find out
Yeah,
and get some feedback on that.
yeah, okay.
Maybe we,
And maybe it's just make sure there's extra bins, garbage bins on that weekend. It's just remarkable. Every year, I'm kind of surprised by it, but I shouldn't be, because it's every year. And I just think it's great that so many people use it.
maybe as you see fit, we could have I could come down there and help you if we set up a day in the summer or whatever, if we thought that we need to go around the park.
Oh,
one time.
afterwards.
Yeah, sometime if you say,
I'll look-
oh, you know what, we need to go through this again and.
Yeah,
look at-
I'll
Yeah.
see what, if there's any feedback from Ron next time. He's coming to our meeting, so I'll see if there's any
Okay.
kind of feedback. But otherwise, it occurred to me that there might be some extra cleanup that has to happen after this particular weekend.
All right. Dave?
Park cleanup at Southwood went really good. We had a handful of people show up. Matter of fact, there's a couple that left from our park and went up to Silver Lake, and vice versa. But no, it was a very clean park. We actually, total, we got less than 1 full garbage bag from garbage. There was only one where somebody had said, well, somebody didn't pick up after their dog. But other than that, everything was picked up. Then I cleaned up a lot of brush around the observation deck. Public Works was out. They actually gave me some clippers, and so I went and did that. And within an hour after that, they were there, picked up all that brush plus the garbage, and on their way they went. It was a huge success, and a lot of people had commented how clean Southwood really is for being a nature preserve. So, and that's all I got.
All right, Rachel?
No updates on the parks. When I showed up for the cleanup at Northwood, City Councilor Troy Woods had shown up early, and he'd pretty much combed through the park already, and there was very little that he found. And then Public Works actually showed up and made sure we had enough supplies, and then mentioned that most of the parks were pretty clean, and that everyone was heading to Silver Lake. But it sounded like Silver Lake was kind of covered. So then he and I ended up cleaning McKnight between 11th Street and 36th.
Oh.
And that was a lot of trash that we collected there, which isn't a park, but we cleaned it anyway, so.
You know, it's funny.
Thank you, Rachel.
We went over to help you. When we were kind of done over at Silver, one of the Lake Association people and I went over to look for you in Northwood, because we had heard that maybe you were the only one that showed up on that day, or you didn't have a lot of helpers. And so we kind of drove around looking for you, but didn't see you, and that explains it.
Yeah, I think I was there less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
And we went over to McKnight.
Okay.
I know we usually pair that with like Earth Day, and it was later this year, but hearing Ingrid's point, it might be worth revisiting like when a good time to do park cleanup is. Like, yes, it's nice that it kind of ties in with Earth Day, but the weather's always iffy, to say the least, because when we did it in April, it was always snowing or cold or something. And maybe the usage of the park, since it's heavier in the summers, maybe park cleanup should be midsummer or fall or some time in, I don't know what a good time would be, but maybe that's something we talk about at some point of maybe shifting when that should be.
The weekend after the 4th.
Or the day after the 4th.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah,
Like you guys.
yeah, right.
I did hear
Fireworks.
from Public Works and Ava that Public Works had already combed through the parks really, and they've already mowed.
Oh, okay.
So by the time we were doing the cleanup, they'd really gotten the brunt of it. So,
Okay.
Yeah, either earlier or later at a peak season.
Maybe that's a question for Ron.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when would
Yeah,
an
what's the
ideal
best
time
time?
be? And is it before they start mowing the parks? Is it March, or is it, we just put on some gloves and coats, or, okay. All right. Reports from staff.
Yeah, I just have a couple brief things from Public Works. So they they were able to get the warranty fix on the pickleball court at Housie, so that post
yay.
is fixed. Still working with the vendor to get the wind screen installed there, but that is still in motion. As noted earlier, the ash trees have been removed at McKnight, which is great, so they're off the tennis courts. And then if you haven't seen, the Silver Lake Improvement Association is planning a treatment for the algae in the lake and around the beach areas and the fishing pier later this week or early next week. So signs will be posted for that as well. But one thing that I did want to ask, Ava had asked me, if you have rough idea of numbers of people that you think participated in the cleanup day, what would you estimate that to be at your parks? And did anybody get any photos? She asked me that too, but, okay.
No photo, and Troy Woods helped.
Okay,
One person.
okay,
I think we had,
Southwood had at least 6.
okay.
I'm going to say at least a dozen at
Okay.
Silver.
That's great.
And then Ben.
And Ben,
We could recreate a photo of Ben doing something, probably. We could ask his wife maybe to take an action shot,
Perfect, like in the center of the snowman.
Yeah.
just with one of those sticks, like getting trash.
For what it's worth, Casey was very clean, and I was able to help a young boy who sadly was fishing and got the hook stuck in the back of his head.
Oh, gosh.
well, that seems really important, yeah.
I was there at a good time.
You were meant to be there.
Yes.
Gosh.
Yes. But that is it from me.
Okay, and I confused the commissioner discussion with the reports from commissioners and park liaisons. So can we scratch that since we already did that?
Yeah, if we already did
Okay.
it.
Well, the only thing I could add is Southwood, and I mentioned the last time, a couple of the benches should be addressed.
Yes. And I did note that to Ron, so I'll bring it up again as a
Yeah.
reminder.
All right, so it's just adjournment. And the next meeting, June 23rd, is that at Casey Lake, or are we going to be here? I forgot, I thought we were doing summer park meetings.
It is, yep, it's at Housie.
Is that
Housies,
the
so-
26th, maybe?
It's the,
Not the 23rd, but maybe the
the
25th?
Wednesday, yeah, the 25th. I have that wrong on
Yeah, I
here,
think
so I'll get that changed.
6 o'clock?
6:30, normal time.
Oh, for the, okay, so the park,
So we'll be at Housy.
but the community will be
Oh.
inputting? Like we used to have a half hour for input.
They'll just be invited to speak during the public portion.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Anyone like to make a
Okay, I
motion?
make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So adjourned.
Awesome, thank you all.
Good job on your